Hola mis amigos, soy Hawani. In la clase de hoy we're going to go through one of the most important verbs in my opinion in the preterite past tense in Spanish, which is the verb decir. So the verb decir. So why is it so important? Reason being, when you're telling a story, for example, in Spanish that involves other people, obviously you're going to need to use the verb decir. Not only that, it also gives you a good chance to practice those indirect object pronouns, which is something that I really struggled with when I first started learning Spanish because it is a lot different to how we use them in English. But also a third thing, normally with most people when they start learning Spanish, they normally start off with the present tense. So you're normally stronger with the present tense when you first start. So while you're getting your head wrapped around the past tense, you can actually use decir when you're telling stories in Spanish, but you can also link it back into the present tense as well, kind of similar to how we do it in English. So I will give you a few examples of that right at the end as well. But first, before we get to that, we are going to go through the conjugations for the verb decir in the preterite past tense. We're also going to quickly run through those indirect object pronouns as well. And then after that, I've got a few exercises for you. And then I'm going to throw a few examples for you as well using the verb decir in the past tense. Alright, so just remember as well, if you already know the conjugations and the indirect object pronouns, just skip ahead another minute. But for those of you who don't, let's go through the conjugations first. So let's start off with the yo form. So first up in the preterite tense, we've got yo dije. So yo dije. The tú form, which is tú dijiste. So tú dijiste. We've also got the él or ella form, which is dijo. So él or ella dijo. The nosotros form, nosotros dijimos. So nosotros dijimos. We've also got the ellos form, which is ellos or ellas dijeron. So ellos or ellas dijeron. All right, cool. So those are the conjugations for the preterite past tense using the verb decir. Now let's quickly run through those indirect object pronouns again. So first up, remember we've got me, which is like yo, so me. We've also got te, so te. We've also got le, so le. Nos, so nos. And also finally we've got les, so les. Alright, so the indirect object pronouns. Say, okay, so now what I'm going to do is give you a couple of exercises using those pronouns and using the conjugation of the verb decir. Alright, so I've got 5 questions for you. Okay, let's go through them now. Alright, numero uno. How would you say he or she told me? So he or she told me. Using that indirect object pronoun, remember you'd say me dijo. So me dijo. So just remember, I know it can be a little bit confusing, but remember, whoever's doing the action, so in this case, he or she is saying, so they're doing the action, so which is why we have the conjugation dijo, and then they're saying it to you, or to me, which is me. So that's the reason why we have me dijo. So me dijo. So he or she told me. All right, let me give you another one. You told me. So you told me. Cool, so you'd say me dijiste. So me dijiste. So you're doing the action, so it'll be dijiste, and you're saying it to me. So it'll be me dijiste. All right, let's try another one. They told me. So they told me. Group of other people. Cool, so you'd say me dijeron. So me dijeron. Cool, so it should be starting to sink in now. Let me just give you a couple more to make sure. All right, we told you. So we told you. Cool, so you'd say te dijimos. So te dijimos. All right, one more. I told him or her. So I told him or her. Or I said to him or her. Cool, nice and easy. So le dije. So le dije. All right, cool. So you will need to keep practicing that. So hopefully that does make sense. If you've got any other questions, obviously just let me know, but keep practicing that and it will set in. It did take me a little bit to kind of wrap my head around that one. Now let me give you a few examples of what I was talking about before when I was saying we could use the preterite tense with the decir and link it back into the present tense. So to give you a few examples, now I'm going to say a couple of sentences in Spanish. I'll have the writing here for you as well. See if you can translate it for me and then just notice how I wrap it back into the present tense. All right, let's start. Anoche fui a casa de mis padres y mi mamá preparó la cena. La comida estuvo increíble. Le dije, mamá, ¿puedes cocinar la cena mañana también? Alright, so again, anoche fui a casa de mis padres y mi mamá preparó la cena. La comida estuvo increíble. Le dije, mamá, ¿puedes cocinar la cena mañana también? So notice how I was using the preterite past tense to start with, but then I quickly linked it back into the present tense. So that's just another way on which you can help expand your stories while you're still wrapping your head around getting used to the past tense in Spanish. All right, so let me give you one more example. Now, this is something that a friend of mine said to me the other day. All right, so mi amiga me dijo, Juani, puedo entender un poco de español, pero la verdad es que necesito practicar hablar. All right, so let's say that again. Mi amiga me dijo, Juani, puedo entender un poco de español, pero la verdad es que necesito practicar hablar. All right, so again, see how we started off in the past tense, and then again, I linked it back into the present tense there. Cool, so that's just a couple of ways there in which you can use the verb decir, talking about things in the past, expanding on stories that you might be telling someone, and then also, if you need to, linking it back into the present tense as well to make it a little bit easier for you while you're still getting your head around the past tense. All right, awesome. So as per normal, guys, that is all from me for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've got any other questions, let me know. But apart from that, que tengas un buen fin de semana y nos vemos pronto.